Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are you guys doing today? How are you guys doing today? Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope everyone had a great weekend, man. Happy Monday to everyone. Hey, for first time listeners, this is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas, with this inspirational morning walk. I usually get some exercise in the mornings, walk a couple of miles around the neighborhood, and I share my thoughts with you guys. Whatever I'm inspired to talk about that day, I will share with you guys. And if you like what you hear, you can check me out on YouTube. I have all of these. I'm doing a little over a year now. Probably about 160 something of these little talks. So you can go there and check it out, and you will find something that can bless you. So yes, it's a beautiful day here, a nice day as you can see. Slightly overcast, but it shouldn't rain, but I can get some good walking in this morning. Yes, so today what I want to talk about, man. Today what I want to talk about is that old way of thinking. That old way of thinking. Mr. Osmond Spitman, good morning, man. It's that old way of thinking that we have, right? The old way of thinking. If we continue to think the old way what tradition has taught us, we're gonna miss what the message that Jesus really come to bring, right? We're gonna miss that. So I want to talk about, you remember the parable where Jesus talked about putting new wine in old wine skin, right? And what they really mean and what he was saying, what he really meant by that. So we're gonna really talk about that today. We can talk about that today because I know a lot of us, and that's how it was before. Christianity was this boring thing, and you got to be so religious and so righteous. You can't wear this, you can't wear that, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, and we focus on a lot of that rather than the fruits, rather than what the word is really saying, right? Marcy Michael, good morning. So that's what I want to talk about, because that turns a lot of people off from Christianity and being a Christian, all these traditions and all these rules and all of these things. And people are like, man, that's too rigid. I can't live the life, man. It's taking away all the fun out of life, right? And that's what we were taught. A lot of us was taught and brought up with, and soon as you say or do this, you're not considered. So I want to talk about that this morning, and what Jesus was trying to do and what Jesus was trying to say. Right? So you remember John the Baptist, right? You remember John the Baptist. John the Baptist, he came down and he was clearing the way for Jesus, right? Because remember he told the people when he baptizing people in the river, and they was looking at him and so great, and he was saying, man, they got one that is coming that I wouldn't even be worthy to even touch the laces of his sandals, right? And he was referring to Jesus, right? So let's look at Matthew 9:14 through 17 and discuss it. This is when he used a parable too, right? And we can get into it a little bit more. So this is when they was discussing about fasting, right? So one day the disciples of John the Baptist came to Jesus and asked him, why don't your disciples fast like we do? And the Pharisees do. We say, man, why your disciples don't fast? We fast a lot. The Pharisees fast a lot. Why when you say your disciples don't fast? What's up with that? Right? So Jesus replied, do wedding guests mourn while celebrating with the groom? Of course not, because what they do back in the days, you got to understand the Jewish custom, right? Back in those days, they associate fasting with mourning, right? They associate fasting with mourning. This is when they put on the ceremonial mourning clothes, when they talk about the sackcloth and all that. When they're going to fast, it's a form of mourning for them. They associate fast with mourning. So Jesus was trying to tell them, look, you don't come to a wedding, be with the groom and the bride at a wedding. You don't come to a wedding to mourn. You come to a wedding to celebrate and have fun, right? You don't come to mourn. You drink your wine, you celebrate, you eat your food. You don't come to a wedding to deny yourself. You come to a wedding to celebrate. So Jesus is saying, look, I'm the bridegroom. So my disciples don't need to be mourning, right? That's fasting, right? They don't need to be mourning right now. They're with me. They need to, this is the celebration, but right? He's saying, so do wedding guests mourn while celebrating with the groom? Of course not. But someday the groom will be taken away from them and they will fast. So he's saying, when I gone, they going to have to fast. They going to have, but right now is the wedding, You don't deny yourself no foods right now. They need to be denying themselves. I right here, I'm the source of all of this. They need to say, but when I gone, they got to fast, right? Because see, John the Baptist was being a little confused about the whole deal, right? So then Jesus went on to say, besides, who patch old clothing with new cloth? For the new patch would shrink and rip away from the old cloth, having an even bigger tear than before. So Jesus is trying to tell them, man, you guys gotta understand. It's like the old way of thinking that we have. I come to do things a little different. So the old way of thinking, if you guys still maintain the old way of thinking, you're not going to understand. You're going to miss the message of God sent me here with, right? Because John the Baptist saw Jesus mixing up with the tax collectors, eating with tax collectors and talking to sinners and all that. And John the Baptist was a little confused, like, man, something ain't right with this guy here, right? Because they get the old way of thinking, how the Pharisees do things and all of that, right? And then Jesus went on to tell them, and no one puts new wine in old wineskin, for the old wineskin would burst from the pressure, spilling the wine and ruining the skin. New wine is stored in new wineskin, so they both are preserved. So they used to use back in those days those like goat skin, animal skin and stuff to keep the liquids, right? And the new wine, when they talk about the new wine, then the fresh grapes and everything would make the wine with. Remember, they're gonna ferment, right? So when they put it in these wine skin, which is the animal skin is the leather, a new one. It when the wine ferments and stretches the leather, the new leather stretches with it, right? And then, but after that little pouch, the animal skin pouch or leather pouch that they use for a one batch of wine, that already stretched its limit. So Jesus, using a parable that they can understand, he's saying, so if you put new wine in the old wine skin, when the wine try to ferment and stretch that pouch, it has no more to go because it reaches its limit and it's going to tear, and all the wine, you're going to lose all the wine. So Jesus was trying to tell them, if you guys keep the old way of thinking, this new message I coming to give here is not going to stay. It's going to mess you up even more. You got to get rid of the old way of thinking and how the Pharisees had this thing. You got to be stuck up and you got to do all of these traditions and all of that. Jesus is saying, man, and y'all accuse him of eating with tax collectors and sinners. He's saying, man, that's the very people that needs to hear the message. That's the people that need you the most, and you turning them away. How much of us, when we go to church, if a drunk come in the church, or a homeless person, or some prostitute come in there, we turn up the nose, we look at them, it's like, God, they don't have no respect for the Lord. Well, that's the people coming for help. They're coming crying out for help, and we turn them away, telling them, get the life together before they come to Christ. Get your life together. Clean up yourself and clean up your life. Then the people come in to help. Jesus is saying, these are the people who need us the most. The church is where you're going to come to clean up yourself. Right? So this is what Jesus was trying to tell them. These people need y'all telling me, I'm looking like I'm doing things different from the Pharisees, right? So John was still a little confused. So let's go on a little bit. So when Jesus had finished giving these instructions to the 12 disciples, this is Matthew 11, 1 through 6, they're going to read. Matthew 11, 1 through 6. When Jesus had finished giving these instructions to his 12 disciples, he went out to teach and preach in the tongues through the region. Then John the Baptist, who was in prison, heard about all the things the Messiah was doing. So he sent his disciples to ask Jesus. So his disciples again, John trying to understand this thing. He sent his disciples to ask Jesus, are you the Messiah we were expecting? Or should we be looking for someone else? John saying, man, this man ain't doing the things how I know how these Pharisees do it, this old tradition. Are you the person we really supposed to be expecting, man? Because you eating and you drinking and celebrating at wedding. Can remember Jesus' first miracle was changing water to wine at the wedding. And John, no, he didn't put no alcohol to his mouth. He wear clothing with from camel skin, and he lived this strict, disciplined life. So he expect this Messiah that's coming to live this strict, disciplined life like he did. But when Jesus there eating and drinking and mixing up with these, he's like, man, are you the person we really expecting? Or should we be looking for someone else, right? Well, we should be looking, Maxine Ciarba, good morning. Tessa, good morning. So John was saying, man, are you the one that we really looking for? You don't fit in the mold. You're not fitting the mold that we used to, man, right? So, but here what Jesus told them. Jesus told them, he said, go back to John. Jesus saying, look, man, don't look at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Look at the fruits. Look at the fruits that I'm producing. So John tell them, you said, you go back to John and tell him what you have heard and seen. Because John the Baptist disciples, because John was so fascinated with Jesus, it's one coming. So his disciples used to always come to him and telling him and reporting to him in prison what Jesus is doing and how he's doing it. So, you know, so Jesus told him, so go back to John and tell him what you have heard and seen. The blind see, the lame walk, those with leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised to life, and the good news is being preached to the poor. And he added, God blesses those who do not fall away because of me. Jesus saying, man, look at the fruits that I'm producing. Don't worry with how I fit the old mold of how all these Pharisees used to be doing things and all these rabbis. He said, look at the fruits. Because how much times we go to church for years and we really bear no fruit. You're dealing with the same set of problems you were dealing with. And you're doing everything, you're tied in, you're doing all what they said to do, but you're still suffering the same sickness, you're still in the same condition, same situation. Jesus is saying, man, look at my fruit. You're doing this stuff the old way all the time. I just come on the scene, doing things a little different from you, from what you know, but look at the fruits I'm producing. Look at the fruits, right? And this is what we need to start looking at, man. Look at, Jesus said, you'll know them by the fruits, right? You'll know them by the fruits. Man, look, I went to church. I was raised in the church. I grew up in church. But I get more from the last, I would say, 5-6 years of my life. And it wasn't behind the four walls, right? It wasn't behind. I listened to a guy a lot that break these scriptures down. Kevin Ewing, he break it down right in his house. He break it down. Now he's in a radio studios. We reaching most of them. And simple and break it down. You gotta look at the fruits. Jesus said, look at my fruits. Don't look if I'm fit the old mold, because I come to do things differently. And if y'all continue to keep the old thinking and the old way of doing things, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. You're going to miss it. So that's what this parable about the new wine and the old wineskin. He said, you got to remember in one of the scriptures, he said, you got to come like a child when you come into the kingdom, like a brand new baby. You got to come, get rid of all the thinking and what you know, and come like a brand new baby and absorb this new message, man. Absorb this new message, right? So people might say, I can't listen to him. He's just walking in the morning, stock in here. You know, he ain't behind a pulpit with this big priestly robes and all of that. But are you understanding the scriptures a little bit more? Do you understand in it some more, right? And that's my goal, to make it simple and break it down in its fine things, right? So we got to get out of this old way of thinking, as Jesus is saying. We got to get out of this old way of thinking and willing to accept something new, right? I understand more about the spiritual realm, and that's what Christians should understand about what got everything we talking about in the Bible is spiritual. But a lot of time we taught to look at stuff physical all the time, right? We still look at stuff physical when the whole basis of Christianity is spiritual. God is spirit. The devil will refer to all that is spirit. He said his words is so everything. So guys, we gotta look at the fruits, as Jesus was saying when he said back to John the Baptist, when John was confused, asking, "Are you the man we're really looking for, bro? Because you come so simple. You come so simple. Oh, you're going to be the king, and you just come so simple, walking in your little sandals and just meeting and talking to everyone. How are you going to be our king and defeat all of our enemies? All of these kings who defeat his mighty warriors with the shield and all of that. But Jesus said, no, I don't need all of that. I don't need all of that. I don't need all of that. I don't need, not because I'm fit the mold, I can't get this job done. Look at the fruits I already produce. Look at the fruits I already produce in the short time I'm here. More than what you guys produce. These sick people was around you. These deaf, dumb, demon-possessed people was around you, going in the synagogues every Sunday or whichever day they worship. They were going there and nothing. They was still sick, still dumb, still deaf. I come on the scene for these 2 years, and these people are walking, talking. The demons are gone. So look at my fruits. Don't look if I don't fit the mold of what you used to. Get rid of the old way of thinking and receive what I am bringing, the message that I'm bringing here, right, guys? So I'm going to leave it there. So for we to understand this whole thing, he's saying, just get rid of the old way of thinking and prepare to accept something new. Prepare to understand something new, because if you're still trying to understand this new world, the whole basis of your Christianity, which is all spiritual, but you're still looking at things physical, everything you're looking at physical, as what Ephesians 4:18, where it's saying, look at the spirit, right? The spiritual is I get a brain block now. Anyhow, but the things are unseen is what pulling the strings, right? But if you still come in looking at things physically and not understanding things spiritually, say you're going to be confused. You're going to be like this new clothes, the old clothes where you put in the new patch on, right? It's going to mess you up more. It's going to tear you. It's going to mess you up, because for you to understand this whole thing, you got to get rid of that and just absorb the new information. All right, guys, I can leave it there. I can leave it there today.